And we are live. What is going on, everybody? The boys are back in town. E3 is not in any town, but the spirit of it lives on. It is June. The Nintendo Direct is imminent. And Pat, looking fine as ever, my friend. I've missed your face.
Yeah, I tried a new thing today. I put on glasses and a backwards hat. So I don't know.
I'm trying to be like you, as you can see. I don't have the glasses thing down, but I do got the back. Oh, I can. Here we can. Here we go.
Yeah.
This is my if I can fit it in. This is my Top Gun look for you.
Oh, there we go. Okay,
No,
I like
I
it.
just need like a muscle suit, and we'll be good to go.
Oh my god. Okay. Thank you everyone for hanging out. This show was supposed to be dead, but this is now the zombie podcast because we're back. And Zach, I want to start really quick. I want to hit him really quick.
Great.
With just saying, like, I think I could speak for you.
Okay.
No AC this year. No AC news. No AC anything. Can we? Wait! What is that face? What is that face?
Look, let's be blunt. Let's be honest. Hello, everyone. Thank you for welcoming us so kindly. We'll take questions and talk to y'all in a little bit, but I want to get right from the get-go, like Pat said, that I do think, given the popularity and given the radio silence, there is a chance of something. I don't want to say like, oh, update 3.0, and I don't want to say a new game, but it's been 3 years since they really began hyping up Animal Crossing New Horizons. And I mean, look, there's been a Mario sports game, 3 out of the 5 years of Switch? We're getting another one this week.
True.
Animal Crossing has risen from a B-tier Nintendo franchise to an S-tier. And I mean, look how many Pokemon games we get. Last year we had, new Pokemon Snap. We got the Diamond Pearl remakes. This year we get Legends Arceus. We're getting Scarlet and Violet. I don't want to hype the hopes, but I do want to say that this is a different ball game than it's ever been for this franchise.
Yeah, I mean, not every day a game sells 40 million, and I mean, it's been so short of a time too. It's like 2 years, 40 million, guys. Like, that's disgusting. It's more than Pokemon. Like, I feel like Animal Crossing is now on the Pokemon level in terms of like the fan base you got. Even correlations between like villagers and Pokemon, like it's kind of a similar thing. I want to ask you, and I also want to ask the chat, what do you think is the sweet spot of like years in between a full-fledged Animal Crossing game? Like, for me, this is my perfect scenario.
Okay.
Every 4 years you get an Animal Crossing game. However, those 3 years in between, you support the prior game.
Well, they've already failed. They've already failed your perfect scenario.
Yeah. Well, that's mine anyway. Like, what is it for you? It's not like an every year thing, right?
The structure of the game just doesn't really make a lot of sense unless they were going to dramatically alter it. But I would say 3 years. I mean, previously we've been on like a 5, 6, 7 year cycle, something along those lines. That to me seems extensive, especially now with how popular it is. I don't think it's every 1, I think 2, but I think, 3 or 4 would be great. And let's remember, 3 or 4 means next year or the year after, right? So like that is coming up quick. I really think that the most important thing now, and I know this might be weird because we do have Amiibo Festival, but I think Animal Crossing needs to expand. I think it deserves, and I think it has the brand clout to build bigger than just a once every 4 or 5 year, life sim. I think they can do more, and I have to imagine Nintendo is looking at that.
Yeah, I mean, pandemic aside, that definitely did help numbers. But like, if you're Nintendo, I mean, Zach, like, how much realistically did you think this game was going to sell? Like, pandemic aside, like for me,
10
I always
million.
knew it was going to be like 10, 15. When you get into 40, you got to start hustling. You got to make a whole studio just like, constantly going for that. And I know that they are doing things like Pocket Camp and things like that, but I just don't think it's enough. And instead of like the every 4 years or every 3 years thing, I think the next evolution for Animal Crossing, I don't know what people, are going to say about this, but look at Minecraft, look at Fortnite, look at like House Flipper. Like these are not only like Sims, perfect example. They're not games anymore. They're like platforms
Right.
where you have like, a solid platform, and then you just, every 6 months to a year you add in like a big expansion. And I think that's the progression that we have to see with Animal Crossing. It's no longer like a 6 or 7 year thing. Will Nintendo do that? I don't know, but
should they? Yes. Will they? We don't know. But I feel like, again, if we look at the expansion of Pokemon into just a multitude of genres, I don't think Animal Crossing will ever get that far. But I mean, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, I guess. But they have a cash cow. And from a business sense, from a fan sense, we talked about this in our video announcing these streams. Why not? You make people happy. You make a bunch of money. There's no reason to ignore it. For every, WarioWare and 1-2 Switch 2 Nintendo makes, they could make an Animal Crossing game. Just paste that theme on that, and it does infinitely better. So I have to imagine that the new leadership at Nintendo, we'll call them like the Switch era leadership, like they have to recognize like we have a treasure trove of an audience here, and I think Animal Crossing Horizons is done. I don't know that I even think a Villager update is possible anymore, but I think another game is probably sooner than we think.
And here's where like it gets really complicated, because we're talking about timing a lot. Do we go from 2020? Do we go from 2021? Because like we did have a big 2.0 expansion and like a paid DLC. So does the counter start in late 2021? Like I'm giving you guys even more bad news. But also we're talking about timing for this year. We got Pokemon, we got, Splatoon. We have like really big games that Nintendo's going to focus on. They're not just going to randomly drop like AC. Like AC is its own. You guys will know when Animal Crossing is coming out. But and then you have like the next year. Like, what do you do? Because then you have conflicts with the Switch, the next Nintendo console, and surely you're not going to put out a new Animal Crossing at the end of this life cycle. Wouldn't you save it for the next one? So I don't know, man. I did put up a poll. We'll go over that in a second. But like, in terms of timing, it's kind of murky right now, because you have a new console in the distance, but you also have big games that you want to promote now. Zelda is still not out. Metroid Prime 4. Like, these are games that need to happen before we double dip into Animal Crossing. But it's just interesting because 40 million, Zach. Like,
and I think we have to remember that, like, they're just odd. Like, when 2.0 didn't come, we all thought Brewster and everything was coming for so long. And then by the time 2.0 did come, we were like, it's not coming. So like they have, circumvented our expectations many times. Let's say that, okay, a new Horizons, like the next true game, yes, that is years off, but I do think there's a chance that at this Direct or the September Direct, we see a trailer for a spin-off different genre AC.
This Direct?
Yes.
Whoa.
Okay. Look how many Pokemon games they put out, right?
Okay. I mean, so it's interesting, because if we go back, Nintendo is not predictable at all, but we can at least go back. And on the 3DS, you had New Leaf. 4 years later, you had a giant update. You also had Happy Home Academy, which was a different like game altogether.
Right, separate cartridge.
And then on the Wii U, you had Amiibo Festival, which was that spin-off game that we're talking about. It didn't pan out, so I hope that doesn't sway Nintendo in any way. And then you also had like things like Animal Crossing Plaza, which was, sort of like an app type thing. They were added to Mario Kart. They are aware of the Animal Crossing hype even back then. Do you see a similar thing happening with like, not Amiibo Festival 2, but maybe like a board game, a racing game, a puzzle game?
I think it has to. And, we know that we're not getting a new Mario Kart for a bit because the Course Booster Pack, it seems like for whatever reason, they don't want to Nintendoify the sports titles. Like, it's still Mario, Daisy, Peach. Well, it's not Daisy for Strikers, but you know what I'm saying. So where do these characters come back? I do think it's now an IP. It's a franchise that is so big. It's just bubbling with money, and that's what Nintendo has to look at. But they have to keep it relevant beyond like you said. If they do come out with a Switch Pro, a 4K Switch, they're not going to release this day one on that. They're not going to put it on the old Switch. So you're talking years out for something totally sequel like for like the next New Leaf, the next New Horizons. Do you really want to risk having Tom Nook and KK and Isabelle away for 4 or 5 years? I mean, look, Smash Bros. Ultimate is out. We're not getting a new Smash. So there's no opportunity for these characters to pop except in a spin-off game. And that's why I feel like you don't have a 3DS anymore to spin off. You don't have another Mario Kart that you can, sneak them in. It feels like they will, even if it's on the level of like Pokemon Cafe Remix, which is like the eShop only game. Like,
yeah.
I feel like brand awareness wise, you got to keep these characters in there. It'll sell. It's great for Nintendo, and it captures a section of the audience that Nintendo loves to capture. I mean, we've heard the rumors about them making 1-2 Switch 2. Nobody seems to want it, but Nintendo is hell-bent on getting that family audience. And no slight to family people out here, but Animal Crossing is Nintendo's best family opportunity right now. All ages, and I think it's like, I went back to E3 2019, and that's when we saw an Animal Crossing trailer. That's 3 full years ago. That's a long time. That's 1,000 days.
That's a long time. And I don't want to put this out there, but we have to talk about all the aspects. Pocket Camp is sort of an old game, and I don't want to bring this into existence, Zach, but like
mobile.
A new mobile game. Because here's the thing. I don't really see Pocket Camp as like a powerhouse. I mean, it does make $1 million, little over $1 million, maybe $2 million a month, which sounds like a crazy number, but like that's pretty on par with like, major mobile games.
Right.
I kind of think Pocket Camp has sort of run its course. It seems like a old, outdated idea right now, and even though it is still making money, I wonder, because Nintendo's always been big into mobile. That's their thing. They've put out Pokemon Go and, like you said, like Pokemon Cafe and Pokemon Shuffle and things like that. How real do you think that possibility is in terms of like, it's tough. You have 40 million on Switch, but you also have a lot of people playing Pocket Camp. Like,
right.
Do they go mobile at all?
I think it's a very real possibility once we see some slowdown from Pocket Camp. I guess the fact that they continue to bring pretty frequent updates makes me think, okay, like, they're not sunsetting it yet. But I like, if that is to happen, maybe this is a crazy opinion, but I almost wouldn't care if it was a mobile game. Like, and I don't mean I wouldn't care about it. I mean, great. Like,
yeah,
like a new Animal Crossing game, if it's on Switch or mobile or both. Like, remember, Pokemon Unite, Nintendo's latest Pokemon mobile,
that's true,
is a cross-platform experience. So what if you do a free-to-play Animal Crossing game that is available on both? That, to me, is the best-case scenario, because then we get it on our Switch, we like that, and then Nintendo loves it because everyone with a freaking phone, which is everyone on the planet, can have it. Maybe it hits both.
No, that's a really good point. I think, you know what? I think what you just said is very likely. My opinion on mobile games has changed a lot because Pokemon Unite's fun. I genuinely like that game.
It's a good game, yeah.
So, just because a Animal Crossing mobile game is, going to be made or might be made or something, I'm not totally turned off, but I will be turned off if it's just mobile, because the idea that New Horizons is going to hold people over for, I don't even know how long. Nintendo, I feel like they switch up every day when the next console is coming out. It can't hold us over for like even another year and a half. Like people are going to want more, but that's very realistic.
What's the bad thing about mobile? Because I see people in my chat saying like, no, they do not want it just on mobile. They want it on Switch. Is it because of the kind of game, or is it because you'd rather have the bigger screen? Because if it's not Pocket Camp, let's say they make something cool or something, more modern, like you were saying, Pocket Camp's kind of a has-been idea. What's so bad about having it on your phone?
It's the stigma of a mobile game. A lot of people,
microtransactions, is that what you mean? Like,
I think so.
Okay.
And I think like people think of mobile as in like stripped away content.
Mm-hmm.
And I do agree with some, like we do have that like bad sort of mobile, microtransactions and stuff like that. But I mean, Unite does it in a way where it's like cosmetics and things like that, which Zach and I have been on record before as saying like, bring cosmetics, bring us item packs, bring us themes, bring us something.
Right.
I of course would have to see it first, but I don't know what angle they would take. Pocket Camp was like very much, like a bite-sized, hey, design your own camp, talk with your favorite villagers and stuff. I don't know what else they would do in that genre.
So what
it would have to be.
Let me just throw something out at you. What if it was a Cap and Island minigame multiplayer thing?
I think that's best case scenario. Because
then it doesn't. I mean, I don't think the next design the whole island game is on mobile. So let's be clear about that. People are saying controls aren't as good on mobile, 100%. But we're not talking about like the New Horizons 2 or Space Frontiers or whatever the next game is. We're talking.
This is like a spin-off game. So you're gonna get your mainline Animal Crossing, whether it's 4, 5, 6 years, but this is something to keep the train going, pretty much. So. A lot of people don't like mobile games. I don't really play mobile games. I play a couple, but they feel more like games.
Mm-hmm.
A mini game like multiplayer thing seems interesting. It's like real time though, and I don't know. I just don't know, man. I don't know what I would want, guys. If you had to pick, I know that you all hate mobile games. If you had to pick a mobile game, for me, it would be some kind of design thing. Where it's like you just unlock items, you put them, but it would have to be fleshed out and not feel like, oh, put the chair in the chair spot. Like,
right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's, because I know that I kind of like, beat the drum of like, maybe we'll get Zelda Villagers, maybe we'll get Splatoon. Does that possibility for ACNH still exist to you? Or, I mean, we're coming up to Splatoon. That game is out in 3 months. And, Zelda's still a ways off, but, like, is there any hope for you?
I don't know what everyone else thinks. I've gotten off that train, I think. I don't know, man. Because it would be just out of left field. The only possibility that I could see with that is if Nintendo unlocked amiibo support. If they did like a big amiibo update similar to New Leaf, where it's an update, but you still need to buy things to do the update. Like you still need a Splatoon amiibo, and I can see Nintendo bringing back a bunch of the Inkling amiibos and the Zelda. Like maybe that's sort of like a free, but you gotta buy stuff. So I don't know. That could possibly be a thing.
I feel like maybe that train has passed because now we're going on 6 months with nothing. And so to like rev the engine after 6 months, and not to say that games can't do that, because we've seen Nintendo titles like Super Mario Party is a great example. It got online like 2 years after 0 updates. So that's possible, but going on 6-7 months with nothing, I do feel like, hey, there's 3 Splatoon villagers is like very, very unlikely. But what I'm getting from my chat is that people are reluctant to have New Horizons be done. And I think like we probably need to switch focus at this point of like New Horizons is a complete project. And now our expectations, our hopes do need to go towards a spin-off, a mobile game, the next console, something of that sort. Because
we're in the part that we don't really want to think about, but it's just, we're being super realistic. Like, even having the show is a little surprising because it's been so quiet. Again, if you guys want like crumbs, if you want to like snack on some crumbs here, the Splatoon thing could be an option. I mean, we've seen Nintendo go really heavy with amiibos in all of the updates, even the most recent one, where you can go in like Brewster, like you can go in the Roost and swipe in older amiibo cards. So I mean, if they said, "Hey guys, scan your Splatoon amiibo, see what happens," like I would not be surprised at all. It would be out of left field. It would be, to get a lot of hype back.
Right.
That is still a possibility, I think. I'm not as confident in that, but it's very real. I mean, these characters are already modeled in New Leaf. We have Splatoon villagers, we have Zelda villagers, we have Monster Hunter. It's a very real possibility. It's less and less likely, but you never know. Like you just never know.
If it happens, I feel like I mean, I don't know. They could do it last minute. They could do it once, the game comes out. But like, all signs point to Splatoon 3 getting a chunk of the direct. And to be clear, because I'm seeing a lot of questions, The Direct has not been announced yet, but it will happen. There will be a Nintendo Direct in the next couple of weeks. We do not have a set date yet. We do not have a set announcement. But one thing I will say is that this year there's been very few leaks of anything. So I think it is a surprising show no matter when it happens. And yeah.
So do you have any like possible dates like this upcoming week?
Yeah,
has been rumored a lot.
My guess is it's going to be June 14th or 15th. Typically, Nintendo went on the Monday before the Tuesday of E3 usually, which would have been like Tuesday the 14th. I know there's no physical E3, but that would be my best guess. Microsoft is on Sunday the 12th. Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fest is on Friday the 10th. I'm going to LA on Friday the 10th. His is Thursday the 9th. Jeff Keighley's Thursday the 9th. I'm going to LA Friday the 10th, and then Nintendo should be the following week. But it's, it could happen any day.
Yeah. You see Zach on the red carpet taking some pictures.
Me and Tom Nook hanging out. Yeah.
I did ask a poll before we even started. We've been getting quite a bit of votes on it. I said, when will we get something new from Animal Crossing? Just franchise in general. And I said, update, new game, spin-off. And I gave you guys 3 options. 2023 has 23% of the vote. 2024 has 36%. And the majority of people here are saying 2025 or later. What do you think about that one?
I think that's interesting. My audience is a little more split. The number one choice here is 2023, followed by a tie with 2022 and 2025. I guess we got the Trust Switch Force optimism going on over here. A true new game, yes, later feels likely to me. But again, like I don't know. I feel like there are multiple Kirby games on Switch. There's like 50 Pokemon games on Switch. Animal Crossing will have more than one game on Switch. I feel very confident in saying that. So I personally do think it's going to be sooner rather than later. I think 2023 is a very realistic guess for an Animal Crossing game. And again, to be very clear, I'm not saying the next true Animal Crossing should be on mobile or free or anything like that. I'm saying a new game from Animal Crossing based on like
saying Flick's Bug Off.
Yeah,
is going to be 2023. I'm kind of leaning 2024.
Okay.
Just because I didn't even put this year as an option. But this year is out of the question. 2023, I just think there's still too much going on. We got Breath of the Wild.
What else you got in 2023 that you know about? Tell me these secrets, because that's the only game I know about.
My uncle works at Nintendo, and he said, no, I just think that, I mean, they have a lot of games that they haven't, like Bayonetta 3, things like that. I still think there's going to be another 2 or 3 Pokemon next year, too. It's just crazy. 2024, I feel like, is safe. They might announce it in 2023, but, 2024 seems safe for me. 2025, that just seems like, I mean, that's 5 years with no spin-offs, nothing since New Horizons. Like, that would...
What? There's a good question in chat from Josie saying, what would a spin-off entail? Because all they can think about is, like, Amiibo Festival 2. And I think kart racing's out of the question. Sports are out of the question. But a multiplayer of some sort feels like, to me, the most likely. Like, some multiplayer something. Doesn't have to be Amiibo, but...
Yeah, I think a giant... I mean, just look at New Horizons, I think, for the answer to that. Like, the giant omission from that game was no multiplayer.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go to someone's island, but people are still starving for multiplayer. So you come out with a multiplayer-only game, which is very popular, and...
Battle Royale.
Yeah, Battle Royale, just smacking Nook with a net. Now, I think it could be good. Like, I don't know what it would be. It probably would just be, like... either a collection of mini games or some, sort of basic multiplayer game with an Animal Crossing skin, but I'm kind of down for it. Like, I thought Amiibo Festival, don't leave, guys, please. I thought Amiibo Festival was charming. I thought it was a pretty cool idea, but the execution was just terrible with the whole, like, Amiibo thing.
Right.
I would be down for a party game. I don't think they would ever do it because it was, like, a massive failure, but some type of party game, you got to look at your audience and what your audience is into. They're into designing. They're into like family friendly sort of stuff, and that's I think where you stick with. I mean, maybe another happy home game. Like I don't know.
What about something? I'm just trying to get a little creative here, along the lines of, did you ever play Pokemon Rumble, or do you know of Pokemon Rumble? So you're physically controlling Nook and Isabelle, and you're bumping into trees and collecting resources, and not technically a platformer, but something more like, like along that line. So it's less, because I think about Nintendo, what they have multiplayer wise, right? Mario Party is like a lock. They have 2 Mario Party games. Who knows if we get a third or DLC. They have like this 1-2 switch sports, Ring Fit motion thing kind of down. What is the space then for, what kind of different idea can Animal Crossing bring? I see some people saying, a farming thing, a party game, but I do wonder if there is sort of maybe an oddball idea that they can just kind of utilize. We got 400 villagers, you know what I mean? Like, so what can we do with 400 villagers that takes advantage of them? And I think maybe like people seem to really attach onto the collection mechanic of like the Mystery Islands and the items. So I wonder if there's a way you can sort of bring collecting, but not designing, but collecting into, you're almost like Pokemonifying Animal Crossing by finding a way to have people build up this roster of characters.
I'm down for a farming game. Whoever said that, no, that's all I'll be thinking about.
Isn't Animal Crossing a farming game?
No.
What is Animal Crossing?
Was so weak.
A town game?
It's like a life sim, but this one is more of like a island builder type thing.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because like Pokemon Snap has the picture thing. What is like what's left? Because like Mario Party seems like hot again. They're gonna keep doing that. So like, do you really want something to interfere with that? Racing you can't do. Sports you can't do. I guess puzzle game, but that's not enough. We need like
I think that's another good one though. I think
puzzle?
I think some sort of because it fits the audience, right? Like you're talking about like puzzles and Puzzles vs. Dragons and those match 3 type games on mobile and on 3DS did very, very well.
Yeah. And they actually did have they had an Animal Crossing Puzzle League.
Yeah.
Yeah, in New Leaf. Yeah. I love Puzzle League. Give me that Puzzle League. I love that. But there was also some mini games going back to Amiibo Festival, Jesus. There was also this like survival game where you had to, and it was also I think on New Leaf too, where you like had to get materials and like survive a night or something. It was like a wacky mini game that so they have experimented with that before.
Dude, that would be so good. You ever play Don't Starve?
Yes.
Don't Starve really Animal Crossing, where you like thrust onto an island and have to like survive for X number of days like that. I mean, they won't do that, but it would be sweet.
Now here's a scenario, Zach. Okay, they brought back the amiibo cards. Okay. Everyone has like 100 at least. Like, let me know in the chat how many amiibo cards you have. They release Amiibo Festival 2. I think it does well.
I think so too. I mean, because look, it is plausible because they had Nintendo Land alongside Mario Party on the Wii U. They've had plenty of. They have that one Fortune Street. It's like it's a more of a Japanese Mario.
I like that.
It's like, but it's basically Mario Party, but just like without the fun. I don't know. I'm glad you liked it, but. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there is room for another one of those. I'm seeing people talking about something that would appeal to me in a way that I would freak about, which is a card game. I love card games, and I'm currently in the Marvel Snap beta, which is like, no joke, I have played as much Marvel Snap in the first 2 weeks as I played Animal Crossing in the first 2 weeks. I put 20 plus hours into that game in the first 2 weeks. I can't stop playing it. It's so good. But they have the amiibo cards, so people kind of already have like a familiarity with cards. Some sort of AC card game. Dude, you know what you need? Okay, take Miitopia and then mix in cards, and you have a card RPG with Animal Crossing. That would be pretty cool.
Again, you got to look at the audience, and like I know you would be doing backflips, but I don't
think it's too hardcore.
I don't think it'd push the needle. I think we need.
What if it's like Uno? What if it's like Uno Animal Crossing?
That would be cool. Okay. I would like that. I want the equivalent of like Fall Guys. We need like that level of just wackiness.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking with like a Pokemon Rumble, like more actiony.
Yeah. I think something where you can customize your character, bring your character into this multiplayer game. you can do cosmetics, but like have it just a fun. I can't believe I'm saying Animal Crossing Battle Royale, but yeah, that just escaped. So like Battle Royale style.
They need to do Nintendogs Animal Crossing. Instead of taking care of those random dogs, you're taking care of.
Oh my god!
Like you have to take care of Eric. You have to bathe him and feed. Tamagotchi Animal Crossing would sell like fire. Like if they put villagers and you got a random villager, you buy a $20 Tamagotchi, that's $1 million idea.
Yeah. Zach, you're going to LA soon. I'll meet you there. We'll
put on my our fancy clothes.
We'll talk about it. It just has to stay in the same sort of thing. Like I feel like if you put out, and I'm not saying your idea is bad, Zach, but if you put out a card idea, if you put out like just like a stupid journal decorating, like it's not gonna push the needle. You need a game that is gonna hold you over. It's gonna keep you going, like Pocket Camp. Like I don't think Pocket Camp is spectacular,
right?
But I think it's like it gives me my sort of AC fix. I play for like 15, 20 minutes a day, but it gives me like enough. You know, you can still talk to villagers. You can still, you know, somewhat do something that reminds you of Animal Crossing. That's what you got to do. You got to have some staples of this franchise: bug catching, fishing. Like you got to do something. But
you know what else could be interesting? You ever play Fallout Shelter or like even like Sim Tower or any of these like 2D building games? I wonder if that would be another option. So you're keeping the building. It's just not 3D, but it's more of like a managing the hotel or managing the whatever. I know we've thrown out like Animal Crossing Resort and stuff before, but I think that would. I mean, look, the bottom line here is anything AC is super exciting, which is why I feel like it will happen. I don't know what the idea will be, but like we all, even if it, like you said, even if it was Amiibo Festival 2, how many of you would just be like, sure, sign me up. I need more Animal Crossing in my life.
I just think that you're going to get, well, if it's free to play, you're going to get the entire community at least trying it. Mm-hmm. Like you're at least going to have downloads. If it's like $5 to $10, I feel like you're going to get half, and that's still a lot. That's, I mean, 20 million, 15 million, install base for a game. Like people are willing to try. They just love this franchise so much. I kind of want to switch gears a little bit because we could talk about prototypes all day. The next Animal Crossing. How do you think the next Animal Crossing launches? Do you think it... Because I am of the mind that the next Animal Crossing is going to be like the worst ever in terms of like the launch version. Because you look at New Horizons. If New Horizons never got a single update, it would have been the worst Animal Crossing of all time. But I think the next one is going to release like without anything, and then we're going to get amazing stuff. Or will it be more platform based like I was talking? Like, what do you think?
I think that the next Animal Crossing will be the biggest leap the franchise has taken. I think that's the trajectory of so many franchises this era, with the removal of the split 3DS and GameCube or Wii U, home console, whatever. I feel like franchises are willing to go a lot further. We've seen Pokemon struggle, but they got there. Arceus is a big leap, and it seems like Scarlet and Violet are going to be a bigger leap. They've got free, open world 4-player co-op. I feel like New Horizons is like New Leaf 1.5. Forget the semantics of that, but it's them learning the Switch and learning home console development again. I think the next one is will be markedly different to the point that we aren't worried about that. I mean, that's just my opinion. You could be right. We could get this very bare bones New Horizons 2, but the way I see it is that, wow, this is a notable difference where we're not even thinking along maybe the exact same lines of, they need to add back in Brewster's Cafe because perhaps it's already it's a whole city already there. I just feel like it'll be a big step.
Diana says Animal Crossing Quest game. I would like that. That'd be cool. It's like a little, and that's another thing. The beginning quest of New Horizons to get KK to your island seemed like it came and went like really fast. I was loving when I was starting New Horizons because I was like, oh my God, there's like a purpose here.
Right.
I'm like this little scrub trying to make an island come together. And I really did like that. There's been a lot of people in the chat are saying some interesting stuff about you can't really launch the next game without the New Horizon, like they've almost created a problem on their hands because terraforming, waterscaping needs to be like that's a new staple.
Right.
Even, some sort of like a villager hunt mechanic needs to be like, these are things that need to be in the game. And how impactful is it if we have like a red trailer or like a leaf trailer? Like, I feel like you gotta almost start with New Horizons as the base and then add to that.
Yeah. I don't know that. I mean, they can, and we'd eat it up, but I don't think that they will do the same, wipe it down to the bare bones, and then, oh, here comes, the plant cart is back in the plaza. Like, I just don't think that it'll even have the same structure. I'm not as familiar with the older Animal Crossings, but I feel like there was solid distinction between the games. And then New Leaf and New Horizons do, to me, feel like they're like cousins, at least. Maybe not siblings, but cousins. And I think then the next one will have to be markedly different while keeping, like you said, the full realized version of these things. Like, you can't go back and be like, well, you've got 10 slots again. I just don't think that.
Yeah.
I don't think you can just take people through that waiting process again. This was sort of their opportunity to try out this live update structure. Previously, the game, I know they had the amiibo update like you mentioned, but previously it was just like, here it is.
Here's
Right.
your game. Yeah.
So
I mean,
yeah.
yeah. I think at the very least we're gonna get holiday updates. I don't think holidays are gonna come packed in with the game. Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, like you don't really know, like the bigger differences. I think the bigger differences from the older games. Let me know if I missed any, but like it's more so the setting. Mm-hmm. So like City Folk had a city. That was like the big thing. New Leaf, you were the mayor. Like, so it doesn't really change. It's not really a consistent change. So New Horizons, you're on an abandoned island and you're trying to build it up. Like, so there's always been like different quest-based things and different twists and turns and things. I don't think they're going to go back to an island setting. I think it was cute. I think it was awesome. It was like a home run. But yeah, I think the next game, I've always said this, I think customization is going to be the next thing. We're gonna dive even deeper into designing to the point where, Zach, our islands might not look the same. We might not be in the same climate. We might not have the same plaza or, different people there. So I think at least that's what I want. I want more customization, more, add to the terraforming, add to the crafting. I think that's where we go.
Or we don't have a plaza.
Yeah.
I don't know what people's opinion is on this, but I think that there was so much emphasis and so much time spent and so much love into New Horizons that I think it would almost take away from it if the new game was like, welcome to your plaza, and here you are with your. I don't know. I would really, really hope that Nintendo has New Horizons be its own thing. This is a great game in its fully realized state, and then we get something massively new, especially if they are going to place it on the new console. That's a wrinkle that you mentioned earlier. New Horizons clearly struggled with the hardware, and I think the options and opportunities that a much stronger system opens up, if it is this 4K better, running platform, would benefit Animal Crossing as much as any other game, if not more, because now you can have scope, and there's beauty in our little island. But I think we talk about this at the the end of NookTalk, where look at the archipelago as a path to the future, the expanded map, multiple locations. I really think that's where we see them go.
Yeah, I would like that quite a bit. So this is another huge debate, and now we're gonna have debates between the newer crowd that it maybe is New Horizons is your first game, and the older crowd, which maybe started with GameCube or something. Mm-hmm. So New Horizons is my personal favorite Animal Crossing, and I don't know if that's necessarily a popular opinion, but from what I hear from a lot of the older Animal Crossing fans, there's a lot that New Horizons does really well, but also does really poorly. And one of those things is like the life sim part. There's not a lot of NPCs. The villager dialogue is poor, but with that, you also have an amazing design game with a ton of items and terraforming and stuff like that. I mean, we're both different players. If you're going to the next Animal Crossing, what side of the fence do you want Nintendo to take with that? Do you want them to focus more on like the design stuff? Should they really, pound that into the ground, or should they go with the interactions and, the spicy characters? And I mean, it'd be great to have both.
It would be great to have both. I think you're right that the emphasis will lie on the infamous UGC, right? The user generated content. I think that's where the focus will go. But I would personally love that zesty bit you mentioned at the beginning, where it is more quest based, it is more story driven, it is more progression, if you will. We've always been this way. I'm not as much of a design person. You're much more of a design person. But I do think that the community, I mean, we could pull it up, but I'm sure the community leans more towards the design side. So I feel like that's where Nintendo will put their emphasis.
Yeah, and people are like, I mean, it'd be great to have both, don't get me
Sure.
wrong, but like, would you rather have, a pre-built island with like a ton of things to do and characters to visit every day? Or would you rather have sort of a New Horizons deal where limited buildings, villager houses, and it's up to you to make your own aesthetic? Like Zach said, there's more longevity with design and customization, but maybe that customization lies on a different part of the map or like a different island or something. But I feel like design, you can't go back on it. But I do think looking back on New Horizons, I recently played City Folk like a couple months ago. And yeah, it was a joy talking to these villagers because they had so much to say and they would comment on different things that New Horizons doesn't acknowledge. So I do want more of that. I do want more, and we need more characters and more like buildings and things like that. New Horizons, I feel like took the abandoned, deserted island thing way too, way too, on
Literally,
the nose.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and I think like sometimes you don't know what you want until you get it. Like Pokemon Legends Arceus is a great example of them sort of taking a little bit of a risk, and people are like, "Wow, this is really great." It's not the exact same formula that we had every time, so. You'd like to think that they were very aware. We have more ways to communicate our opinions than ever before. They have to pay attention to Twitter. They have to pay attention to the updates. They have the data to see, okay, how has the audience gone? Where did it spike? Where did it dip? And you'd hope that they would put those, that data and that knowledge into their next game and be able to create something that isn't just a retread. I don't know. I think there's a part of the audience that loves the retread, but I do hope that they. I don't know. I just hope that when we see people say like, oh, I want the villager dialogue to be more diverse. I want there to be more custom design slots. I hope that some of those questions or some of those wants aren't even like on the table. Like I hope like the interactions are so different that you're not even like. It would just be great if it was massively improved.
I think it would be interesting if everyone puts their number one most wants for the next game. And the only reason why I say that is because New Horizons, the reveal trailer and a couple other trailers down the line, they started off with paths made by Nintendo. They started off with like all these things that people wanted, and they just delivered and delivered. Like for me, it would be multiplayer. I feel like multiplayer is going to be a thing, and I wouldn't be surprised if the next AC game they start with like again, sort of like a Scarlet moment where you're walking and you see three other players, like
Yeah, that would be nifty. I mean,
what's your number one
want? Man. I guess like I think they started it a bit with the Nook Miles, but I would love more objectives, and that just fits into me not being as design savvy. But I do think there was something there, and I think even design people did enjoy the first hours of the game where you were like, okay, I got to do this and I got to go here, and I think it would be cool if they did sort of bulk that out. Unfortunately, Nook Miles ended up becoming effectively a useless currency. Like I know, you can still go on village runs, but we had so many, and there was no reason like, outside of the beginning hours to really go for those Nook Mile achievements. So I hope they find a way to, I guess, give you more to do in sort of that objective questy type sense.
Yeah. I would like that too. Like, yeah, just like little things that you can do, errands for your villagers. I just kind of want and I saw a lot of people were saying like, oh, they changed the dialogue because there was a lot of complaints about bullying and from parents and stuff. Whether or not that's true or not, I don't know, but I kind of want to chalk that up for Nintendo kind of cutting corners a little bit. I think, you look at this game and they've had to translate this game into so many other languages. Like maybe they kind of cut back a little bit just so they didn't have to do extra work. Nintendo is lazy sometimes, guys. We can just chalk it up to that. But I just want smarter villagers. For example, like if a villager gifts me something or gives me something, I'll go up to that villager and they won't acknowledge it at all. It's like it never happened. Right. It's like that event never happened. Like I would love to get something in the mail from Eric. Like Eric gives me a sweater, right? Next time I see Eric, hey Pat, how'd you like that sweater? Like, but that doesn't happen. Those types of smart interactions don't happen in this game, and that's why it does feel lifeless at times. It does feel just like you have stuffed animals on your island, like, so.
They need to make an AC Survivor type game where every night you have like a powwow and you vote a different villager off the island and eventually get down to like your dreamy. That'd be pretty cool. I want to point out that Bloodline Rebellion in the chat said the number one thing that they want from the next game is hot air balloon houses, which is just a brilliant idea.
I love that.
Floating houses.
It's kind of fun to predict what the next mode of transportation is. We've had trains, buses, water plane things. Like
Yeah.
what's air balloons? I would bet on that. That'd be good.
Floating
Air balloons,
cities?
something like that.
Space.
But yeah, you have to have like I saw some open world. People want open world Animal Crossing. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I do like the idea, especially with the limitations of the hardware, to like have a really nice looking place and then take a train or something to the next one, load it in. And I just feel like performance wise, that's what we all should want. Open world is cool, but Zach, could Nintendo handle an open world?
I think the hard part is I don't think you can do open world with the same level of design detail that we have in New Horizons. Like I don't think you can have like there's this massive. It's not Minecraft, so you're not going to do this massive world where you're just terraforming. Pat made this giant tower over here, and I dug into the ground. So I think open world kind of just butts up against the design in not a very good way. But I do think, sort of like the archipelago, either multiple areas broken up by load screens or different areas, like you said, like, oh, you transport yourself to this shopping area and then you transport yourself to the design area, and that kind of a thing.
Yeah. The performance of this game, although I haven't seen the crazy amount of lag, it is something to be a little bit concerned about, especially since the island size isn't that crazy. I mean, so the next game, like, what aesthetic is it going to be? Is it going to go back to island? I don't like. Is it going to go back to foresty stuff? Is it going to go to town stuff? Whatever it is, they really have to like nail that down, and that's why. Zach and I are both in agreement that it's not going to be on this system. I think it's going to be on the next system, but it is fun to kind of speculate about Animal Crossing mini game challenge or something.
And I think a big emphasis will be on much more collaborative design. I feel like that's just where the genre or like the industry is going. And I feel like, we can obviously go to others' islands, but we don't have, there are certain tools that are locked out. You can't pick, there's just certain things that aren't possible. And I really feel like those barriers will be broken down. Maybe not in an open world sense, but I think it will allow for you and I to design an island together. The community aspect of this game is huge. The collaborative aspect of this game is huge. But so much of that happened on Discord, YouTube, and, Twitter, as opposed to in the game. And I would imagine Nintendo would say, how can we move more of that, into our game? And that would be shared island building or shared, location building, but fully. So you go terraform the left side, I'll terraform the right side, and then we'll connect them in the middle, that sort of a thing.
the other thing that kind of scares me a little bit. I know technology is getting better, and things are so tiny now, and can make great things with like chipsets and stuff. We can all assume that the next console is still going to be a hybrid console
Yes.
or a handheld in some way. Like Nintendo owns that market. So that does scare me a little bit in terms of performance. Now, it's going to be way more powerful than what we have now, but I still think that you're going to have limitations. So like an open world concept, I think is kind of off the table. Daikon with the interesting comment says, what about a city online, like a lobby to meet people and visit their own place? That would be super cool. That would be pretty cool. Again,
Like
you
a
would probably
hub,
have to
yeah.
load into it.
Yeah.
Sort of like a hub where, you would see just a bunch of Animal Crossing characters walking around, which sounds really awesome. I would want that. Nicole says, isn't there still a chip shortage?
Yes.
Yeah, it's bad. And they're already talking about like the next PlayStation. No, there's nothing. There's not like PS5 Pro or something.
Yeah, that's goofy. I think a lot of people talking about, space or air balloon travel, all these things. I do think that Animal Crossing sort of thrives on this idea of it's a new place that old characters can also come to. But I think the step forward for Nintendo would be, instead of the place just being different, like everything's different. So imagine a game where it is Animal Crossing Clouds or Animal Crossing Space, and so we've got a new mayor and we've got a new, whatnot, and then the other characters add on. I'm not saying that they would completely change Nook and Isabelle, but I don't want the big new to be like, well, there's a different bug guy. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they need to make I would like a new kind of shop we can't even think of. Like, what, we obviously have our Able Sisters, we have our museum, we have our Nook's Cranny, but there's more than that, and there's more that can be done with different locations and whatnot to, one that we always like kind of like hypothesize about was like this like gem mechanic, right? You dig underneath the island and Rossetti kind of runs this gem store, but something like that where you're like slotting these gems into items to change their color. I don't know, whatever it is, just a totally different set of systems would be really great. I don't think we want to see, like we said, like just the
new bug guy, a new, like, you better not get rid of Leaf, but like a new plant guy or something.
And a new island.
It's tough though.
It's just,
it's tough though because you have those Animal Crossing people that the old school people who are like, where is Red? Like when the game first came out, like, where is Katrina? Katrina was the hot top.
Right.
So you almost have to bring them back, which I don't think hurts the series, but it feels samey. So yeah, we need something, whether it's advanced crafting with, like you said, like gems or something. Like, I think that would be amazing. But I think it comes in either the location of the next island or the role that you play. But honestly, I kind of want to see like Isabelle and Nook take a back seat and, some new, new player.
Gabe and I were talking about this earlier today. We were just messing around on Mario Strikers and saying, like, when's the last time Nintendo introduced new characters to their franchises? And if you look, I mean, Splatoon obviously was a new IP and ARMS was a new IP. But Pokemon is really the one that, like, kind of goes the most, like, risky of, like, it's a new professor, it's a new villain every single time. Whereas every other series, you look at Animal Crossing, you look at Super Mario, like, that Mushroom Kingdom has not gotten new residents in decades. Like, Animal Crossing is always, like you said, Katrina and Nook. And it would be fun to say, like, you show up and, like, the villagers aren't the villagers we know. It's different species, it's different characters, and that's okay. Like, I do think, like, Sarah's saying in my chat that you can't have Animal Crossing without Isabelle and Nook. I think those are kind of, like, given locked in, but
I mean, in the game, but
yes,
just not
same
front
role.
and center. Yeah, like,
I know it sounds blasphemous, but, like, what is it so bad if Brewster doesn't come back? If Harv doesn't come back?
Who is this robot? Who took over Zach's body? I don't know, man. There's a certain charm about seeing, like, the old characters, but to Animal Crossing's credit, Wardell, Nico, Flick, CJ, am I missing any new ones? The Dodos. I mean, you got to give Animal Crossing New Horizons a little bit of credit.
Yeah.
these are new characters that are now like, I'm gonna be a little sad if Orville and Wilbur aren't in the next game.
I mean, like,
these are
how horrible would it be if Nico took over for Isabel?
I would boycott. Nico is terrible. No, I mean, it would be cute. It would be really cute. But then, New Horizons did leave out Digby. Digby is one of the biggest characters. I mean, he was in New Leaf, very much so, and then in Happy Home, and you didn't see Digby. Well, besides if you swipe him in at Brewster's. Yeah,
I think this is where, we're putting strange pressures on the developers unintentionally, because like they're sitting there and they're like, okay, we can make new characters and make this game really fresh and piss a lot of people off, or we can bring back the old mainstays, but that also then limits what we can do. So I don't know. I think Animal Crossing is in a unique position where like the nostalgia is a little toxic. It's just in terms of forwarding the franchise. Like you said, can you do an Animal Crossing without Able Sisters? Can you do an Animal Crossing without KK Slider being the music man on freaking weekends? Like, can you do it without Jack coming? Like, the fan base loves it so much that change is probably very tough to get approved.
I think it's like you have to walk the line of like appeasing both fans, because like the newbies playing New Horizons had no idea who Gracie was, So I think if you give the players just enough, you have the Roost, you have Tom Nook, you have things like that, but then introduce all new things, all new mechanics, I think it works out.
I had this brilliant idea that Tommy Nook grows up to be Tom Nook, and it's just a new generation. So like you still have Tom Nook, but it's Tommy Nook, and then everybody else, like a new era of people. But it's still you can still Google search Tom Nook Animal Crossing, whatever it is, and he'll be there.
If Timmy and Tommy took over from Tom Nook, I would not be upset. I love Tom Nook; he's my dude. But Timmy and Tommy are adorable.
That's the game. You have to help Timmy
reunite with Tommy.
Wrangle control from Tommy, because he's become Tom, and he's becoming, really, really bloodthirsty and greedy. And
Teddy with the 2 says they need to spice up Gulliver in the next AC. I'm wondering if, they should. I'm wondering if Nintendo sort of backpedals on the idea of they took things that were previously cute, okay? Pete and Pelly being the post office people. And instead, because of player convenience, made them into a postcard stand. Like, I'm wondering if they backpedal a little bit and bring back a post office, bring back the Roost, bring back things to make fans like more happier. I think that would be actually a good move. Happier Home Academy. I think that would be a good move. Like, if you're playing Animal Crossing to begin with, you have enough patience to go into a post office, buy a letter, mail it to someone. The beauty of Animal Crossing is things sort of slow down, and it's like a different pace thing. I could care less if there's like a post office kiosk or not. Like, I would rather have characters back. Rather than some of the
so
things.
now you want them to go backwards rather than inventing new systems. You want them
backwards in the sense we get more characters, we get more charm. Like, for example, Tortimer, man, I love Tortimer, but they made him so pointless in this game. He's basically like you can transfer items back and forth. Like, they really sort of dumbed down his role a little bit.
Right.
Same thing with like Gulliver. Gulliver used to be like so great. Now he's like some drunk. Like, I don't know. It's just like I want some of those characters back, but I do agree with you in saying, like, if we want to forward the franchise, add in some new mechanics, and with that, add in new characters. Like, I loved how they did Happy Home Paradise. It was weird not seeing Digby, but we did get Wardell. We did get Nico, but we did get Wardell. Like, it was so good. So
right. Yeah. I think there's just a lot of interesting opportunities, and I hope that they take advantage of some of them. It would be cool to have more dynamic events. I think like Rover's Maze is a great example of how you could convert something from this like once a year holiday to a dynamic event. I thought it was cool. Remember early on when we'd be like, oh my God, Celeste is on the island. Oh my God, a meteor shower. Oh my God, Gulliver's here. And I think more of that variety would be fun and a way to sort of spice up the day-to-day play. It will always be about the events, about the calendar, about, regularly checking in. But I do think they can add some more dynamic occurring events that do mix it up a bit. So, that also just incentivizes going to the other people's islands and boost that multiplayer because, the more special things you have that I don't have, the more different. I also wonder if, and using kind of Happy Home as a leaping point, will we have more flexibility in our starting area? Because in New Horizons, it was just pick a map. But what if it was pick a hemisphere, pick a map, and pick a climate? Like, I can be jungle and you can be desert. What if you do have more flexibility so that we have more distinction? And I think you talk about customization. Right now, terraforming and items are the customization, but what if we really had more flexibility to distinguish our buildings, to distinguish our actual landscape, I got lava flowing on my island and you have streams and rivers, and maybe that accesses a different part of the Critterpedia. I think the Critterpedia is something that's like ripe for more depth. Like, I think it'd be cool if there was more, not just more in volume, but like, hey, we have to go hunt this together, or we have to get these on different mystery. That I think that sort of ties into like quests a little bit. I think the Critterpedia is something that might end up being an unsung hero of the next game.
Yeah, I just want more things to collect. More, I like checking off boxes and stuff. And
you're perfect for mobile games. Checking off boxes, more stuff to collect.
Zach, I am about to divide everyone here.
Great.
I love just bringing chaos.
Yeah,
okay,
that's what we want to hear.
I think we can all agree that the one superstar out of New Horizons is the emergence of villagers. I mean, villagers have always been a thing, but like people now have their diehard favorites, and villagers, like introducing new villagers like Shino and Sasha and things like that. Those were huge additions. Mm-hmm. Zach, the next game, what do you think they do differently? Not in terms of like how the villagers act, but in terms of like adding villagers, maybe taking out villagers. This is a fine line because listen, I think Truffles is a dumpster fire, but there's some sicko out there that loves her. Right. So can you take villagers out? Can you replace them? Do you add in all new villagers? Like
you're running into this Pokemon National Dex controversy, right? Where it's like, we want the new gen, but we also want all the old ones, but can you have 1,500 Pokemon in a game? We're at over 450 villagers or whatever right now, 420, whatever it is. I don't know. How many more can you add? Because if you want all of them, your favorites, you're probably not adding very many. It won't happen, but my dream would be all new villagers.
The same thing.
A fresh start.
I said the same thing. And listen, I would hate to see Eric go, but there would be another Eric out there. Mm-hmm. There would be another Cranston out there. There would be, and it would be so cool to start a game and be like, who the heck is that? Like, all new. Like, guys, just imagine. I know that you all have your favorites and stuff, but just imagine a game where you knew none of the villager names. Like, that to me, I want to see every villager. I want to hunt for every villager. Like, that to me is very exciting. And I do think that you run into the same problem that we were talking about where it's like, hey, where's Brewster? But also, where's Apple? So, like, can you even change the villagers? It is a little toxic, like you were saying. Like, you gotta... Because you're just going to have a little bit of an improvement from New Horizons. Right. If we want all the things that's in the current game and, some improvements, you're going to have New Horizons Plus. And I don't want that. I want new. I want new villagers, new experiences, new NPCs. I think the villagers is the next step to make the next game stand out and different. And I know that's not super popular, but
new species, new characters would be really great. I think the boldest, best thing AC could do would be to just dramatically change up the location so that you have like a reason. Like, I don't know. Rossetti, since he wasn't really in this game, he makes a distress call from a different planet, and you, Nook, and Isabel have to fly there and like say goodbye to Brewster and Wardell are waving in the background, or something. But some way to say like, hey, we are going to try something new. If I was a betting man, I would say that doesn't ever happen, because I think for a lot of people, Animal Crossing is familiar, Animal Crossing is routine, and they love/want to relive that experience.
Yeah.
But you could go back and design in New Horizons. You could go scan in, Digby
Yeah.
and Pelly and Eric and Truffles if you
And
must.
that's what people do with Pokemon.
Right.
If you're missing a certain legendary or or something, you just play Pokemon Ruby or something. So I don't think it's as crazy as it might seem. Kyle brings up a good point. I can imagine Nintendo saying if you want an older villager, you swipe them in. Like maybe they just keep full amiibo support. Or something that I really like, it doesn't hit as hard because all these villagers exist. But in Pocket Camp, when they do updates sometimes, they say, hey guys, 6 new villagers are coming. I mean, of course, the new villagers are villagers that we already know of, but Pocket Camp slowly introduces villagers. So imagine if we had all new villagers, but like the first update brought in Stitches and Cranston and like, so I think that would be really cool to just try to find your favorites. And
I'm going to run with my dumb little idea. You get on the spaceship and they're like, oh, we have one more seat. And you get to pick one Dreamy from the last game to bring with you.
One villager from, oh my God, that'd be easier for me, but yeah.
Do you think there will be any linking between the games? Like, do you think there's any carryover? Like, oh, it takes something from your New Horizons save, whether it's just your villager's aesthetic or your...
I don't think so.
You think it's a fresh start, fresh villager, fresh...
Yeah. Unless they go to like some crazy new model where everything carries over and it's just like an expansion to it.
Yeah.
But I just think that the next Animal Crossing, I mean, I don't really know how safe this is, but it's going to be on the next console. I don't think it's going to be on the Switch. So to link something on a new console from an old console, like I don't know. The closest I think we'll get to that is amiibo support.
Yeah.
I think amiibo support is going to be here to stay. I can't really see anything else though. I can't really see like my items
just
carrying
convert all
over
these old villagers into photos. Forget it being for best friend status. Just swipe the amiibo, get a photo, remember him, and enjoy the new villagers. What if the new ones are better? You won't know until you get there. We got to just take a leap of faith.
I was pretty lukewarm on the 2.0 villagers. I mean, there were some good ones, but yeah.
That's why they need the new species. They got to really... We don't need 10 new mice, please.
Because New Leaf, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was hamsters and deer were introduced in New Leaf. New Horizons didn't introduce anything, right? There wasn't anything. I don't think there was any new species in New Horizons. So, yeah, we just need new. New. And go from there. Lisa says, how far away do you think the new console is? By the way, you guys can ask questions. We're pretty much at the Q&A phase.
The Q&A phase.
How far away do you think the new console is? Nintendo's been on record of saying we're halfway done with the Switch's life cycle. Zach, 5 more years?
Well, it's like, what do you determine new console, right? Is the new console Nintendo Switch 2 or is new console this heavily rumored, always discussed Switch Pro? I think the new console Switch Pro is probably a year away, but I think the next, like, hey, let's not be backwards compatible with Switch anymore is many years away. I mean, look, we did have a generational shift from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5, Xbox, but the Xbox model is probably the model that I think benefits Nintendo the most, that like you can still pop in your Xbox One games into your Xbox Series S or X. So a new console that brings more power but still, uses your games. To me, the biggest issue that Nintendo is going to come up against is the cartridge. Because right now they are very limited on what they can do cartridge-wise, like space of the game, whereas, we're seeing when you download the new Call of Duty, it's like 110 gigabytes. The whole dang Switch comes with like, 12 or 15 or 20 or whatever. So
yeah,
that's
I don't know, man. Yeah, I do think it's going to be another upgrade, another like half step, like you were saying in terms of but I think the next console is probably, they're going to stick to the hybrid model, or maybe they go back to handheld and home console or something. 5 years doesn't seem crazy, but the next iteration of the Switch that might bring some more power, maybe a couple years.
I think next year.
Next year? Okay. All right.
I think I think we're getting to the tail end of what the Switch can do, and I think I don't know. I mean, I know people are very divisive about it, but I feel like the OLED was supposed to be the Pro, and they just couldn't make it happen because of the chip shortage, and they just didn't have enough juice. But they already had the orders in, and they were like, let's go with the OLED.
They pull a 2020 and launch this with
Breath
of the Wild or
yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. If it ain't broke.
But that would still be the same library. So like a new Animal Crossing that's on Switch Pro still plays on Switch, just maybe not as well.
Oh, okay. So you think, okay, because that's also what I was wondering, because there were games on the 3DS that you couldn't play on the older models.
The new yeah, there's like 5 games or something that didn't work, but I feel like that was a big misstep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Let's see. Ryan says, Pat, do you think they need another city? I don't know if they necessarily need it, but I think if you want to add in all of those characters, like we were saying before, if you want to add in Brewster like day one, Kix day one, like you almost need to. Like you almost need sort of a hub for them to go, or whether it's like a city or a Harv moment where you have to like build it up and have that. But I kind of think you have to. Mimi brings up an interesting. I mean, this is possible, I guess. They say, how hard would it be to just enhance New Horizons? We have 3 Switches. Don't really want to buy another console.
How hard would it be? I don't know, but that's not. I mean, it's impossible.
Do you just think that this game can't run? Like, do you think it's performance wise? Do you think they just don't want to go back?
I just don't think that's lucrative enough. Like, hey, we're gonna upgrade Animal Crossing to be better. I don't like, because how many people are gonna buy Animal Crossing New Horizons remaster HD? You know, I think it's just not
Expansion. Like,
yeah.
I think they're saying like the game that we have now. Why not just keep making expansions and DLC for?
Well, that we wanted that, and we tried. We tried to ring the cowbells for months on NookTalk saying keep making more, and then they just said no. Sammy wants to know if we would like them to bring old AC games to Switch, and this is something I've seen discussed for a while now about like porting New Leaf over. I have a very strong opinion on this, but I'll let you answer first.
Ooh, okay. I think it would be a bad decision. Okay. I have a story that goes with this, okay?
All right,
so
story time.
growing up, there was this hill. It was called Jack's Hill, right? And it was like super steep. And I remember taking my bike down it, and I would go like 100 miles an hour. And it was like the best thing ever. This hill, I felt like such a, bad guy going down the hill. And I remember it being so giant. Well, a couple years ago, I went back to this hill. And it was like just about flat, okay? It was not steep at all. It was just like so underwhelming, and I died a little bit inside. I think all of our memories from the original Animal Crossing, City Folk, even New Leaf, if we go back with what we know now, it's not going to be impactful. I think you're going to play New Leaf and you're going to be like, wait, why can't I place this bench outside? Mm-hmm. Wait! I just got this light post. Why can't I put it outside? And I feel like it'd be cool as a novelty. I don't want them to remake the games. I want them to just port them over. If they're gonna do something like that, I don't want them to remake them though, because like that's a step way back. If we're doing new stuff, they gotta go forward. They can't go back.
I view Animal Crossing in its rearview mirror more as a sports type thing. Like you would never bring Madden 21 again. You would never go get NBA 16. This isn't a case of Pokemon where it's like, oh my gosh, the 300 villagers in this game are so beloved by fans, we got to have them back. Because it is so, every time it's the same characters and the same thing, like you said, but with built add-ons, new mechanics, new whatever. It's not like a separate story like, oh, let's bring back Wind Waker and Twilight Princess from Zelda. It's not like a we don't have a Donkey Kong game on Switch, let's bring it over. It would literally be like porting an old sports game, in my opinion. And so I don't think it'll ever happen in any way. I think them bringing back an old Animal Crossing just cannibalizes the next Animal Crossing and almost tarnishes the franchise by being like, it's like it's not its own story. It's the same game, but like the earlier iteration. If that makes sense.
I think if you are like a super fan of New Horizons and you do want more, I would totally recommend going back to the older games, but more as like a novelty. This isn't going to be another 2,000-hour game for you. It's really cool to play the first Animal Crossing and see how spicy the villagers are and see villagers that were cut before. Like, the first Animal Crossing is, in my opinion, top 10 Nintendo games that they've made. The soundtrack is great. Everything is great. But again, it's Jack's Hill, man. It's not. It's not
meme. Jack's Hill.
It's not what you guys think. It's not what you guys think. It's a cool little nostalgia trip, but like vacation there. Don't stay there.
Yeah.
Same thing with City Folk. I love City Folk, but when my grass turns to a desert in like a month, I hate City Folk. And the inventory, you can't, carry a lot. And using the Wiimote, like, who wants to do that now? So go back, visit it, have a good old time. But like, I don't think it's not as great as you guys think. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't know.
You can always go. I mean, it's probably better that if you have a DS or a GameCube or whatever, that you just go find that game. It probably would be, in most cases, cheaper to just get a used copy of that game and mess around for a couple hours. Like,
get a Wii. Literally get a Wii. You can play the first GameCube game on the Wii, and you can also play City Folk. Those are like the only two to go back to. I mean, well, New Leaf is good too. Jimmy with the spicy comment here. Jimmy says, the minute New Horizon drops in sales, they will announce a paid expansion. I see it in 2024 at the earliest. They want to double dip on the huge install base, just like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is right now. Zachariah, what do we think about that? Well, in terms of sales, the game is still killing
doing
it.
pretty good. Yeah, I mean,
is that it? Is Nintendo just like
waiting for the sales to drop?
Are they just like, why put stuff out? People are hyped and playing the game. Like, that might be possible. I could definitely see that.
It's possible. I mean, if you're talking about the next true Animal Crossing, I don't think that prevents them from releasing some sort of genre spinoff. But yeah, the Mario Kart example is just such a fascinating one because they did choose to re-inject some lifeblood into a well-selling game years down the road. I think the only difference is, like, and maybe I'm wrong, coming back to Animal Crossing New Horizons after like 2 years off would be very, very, very weird.
It would have to be major. It would have to be a major. It would have to be 2.0 level to get.
But
to get
even
a lot
just
of people
returning
back
to your island, wouldn't that like Mario Kart? Okay, grab the controller, pick Rosalina and go, or Pink Gold Peach and go race. But like, hey, you haven't played Animal Crossing in 2 years. Play it again, because the only way that those new villagers, new items, and new things matter is if you're invested, right? Like,
yeah,
that's the part that I just don't know that an expansion works the same. Like, to me, if that was going to be their idea, you stoke the fire while it's burning well. You just
feel that Mario Kart is a weird example because this is a game that released on the Wii U,
right,
got DLC on the Wii U,
right,
was ported to the Switch with expansions, now is getting more DLC. Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, that is the weirdest Nintendo
release
game, like in terms of support, in terms of whatever. It's like the fourth version of that. Sell your island to Nook like in New Leaf. Yeah, like almost like a Prestige, like
the other
in Call of Duty, you just
problem,
start over.
The other big problem with a new expansion is, how do you work around people? Like, is it building off of the current expansion? Is it just building off the base game? Like,
I think if they were to do an expansion, it would be another island. So you have the Happy Home Island, and then you have another island where and that other island would have to have value. Like, or do you upgrade Harv's Island? Because we still haven't seen the full scope of Harv's Island. So Harv's Island is still kind of a mystery. You can expand that, make like a big town or whatever. I just don't know where they're at with New Horizons. They are so eerily quiet and annoying too. I mean, listen, let's shut down the Twitter teases, okay? Let's just do Pocket Camp stuff.
You don't want to know that Museum Day is back?
Zach, I have alerts on for Animal Crossing Twitter. And every time they tweet, I'm like, oh my god, okay, I'm making another wedding thing.
Jackson does say that New Leaf got DLC years down the road.
4 years.
I think the only difference there is it didn't have a year and a half of updates.
Yeah, it came out base, and they also, were pushing amiibos and stuff like that. They're Nintendo
all weird situations.
Yeah, Nintendo's just not a creature of habit. They just, like, in 10 years, if they come out with a New Horizons update, like, I'd just be like, oh, that's Nintendo. Like, they're just so unpredictable. Buick says Mario Kart is a much bigger franchise name than Animal Crossing. There's no way. Sales though. Not New Horizons. Animal Crossing. Zach, if you were to rank the 3 most popular Nintendo franchises, I still think Mario Kart beats it, but it's not by much. It's not by much.
Well, it's Pokemon, Mario Kart. I mean, I guess if you go based on most recent game sales, then it would be Animal Crossing. But, like, historically, that would not be the case. I think it would be, like, 3D Mario.
Mario and Zelda aren't even in... It's weird to say. Mario and Zelda aren't even in the same, like, stratosphere as Animal Crossing.
New Horizons.
In terms of sales.
In terms of New Horizons. Yeah. Previously, yes. But if we just take the most recent whatever, it would be, like, Pokemon. And I know no individual Pokemon game has sold as much as that, but... The fact that they can just, like, snap their fingers and have 20 million sales, like, and there's a reason we get multiple Pokemon games every single year. But yeah, I think AC is in that extreme upper echelon.
Because Animal Crossing is at 40 million sales in 2 years, and Mario Kart has been since launch, and it's what, like 44 or something? I don't know what it is at. 50? I don't know.
And this is why, like, I don't know. I guess like our near future look should probably be on a spin-off, because the next Animal Crossing is probably a ways down the road. Whether they decide to do an update, a DLC, a totally new entry, new console, not new console, to me it seems like the best, like, if you want to be excited, if you want to be looking forward, if you want to get yourself sort of in that mindset, I think it is like for the next 2 to 3 years, it's like, what's the spin-off? Whenever that happens next year, like, the way that they handle the next Animal Crossing probably depends on how the next couple of years play out. Because you're right. If it's still selling, if we're at 50, 60, then there's not much need to do a new one. But I have a feeling that at a certain point, this game will fall out of the public discourse enough that you'll want a new one. Because there is something to say for, like, Animal Crossing being a community game and Mario Kart just being like a fun all the time game. Like, Animal Crossing, I think, is like a timepiece in a way. And if you're too far outside of that timepiece, I don't know that in 2024 someone is buying New Horizons as their first Switch game. I mean, maybe, but
it depends. I don't know, man.
If there's nothing new, do they buy that? Is that a hot first seller? I don't think so.
But also, New Horizons is so, like, we are fangirling on New Horizons right now. But you brought in a completely different crowd, where I can't even think of another game that did that in the Switch's lifetime. Like, besides Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild was like the proof of concept. Like, hey, buy a Switch. There's the game of your lifetime on it.
Right.
I can't think of another game besides Animal Crossing. Well, maybe Smash.
Yeah, Smash Ultimate.
Brought in a big group. So I don't know, Zach. What happens if this year New Horizons sells 10 million, and then the next year they sell another 10 million?
Yeah, then they probably hold off which is,
Hold off? Do you think they add another paid DLC? Like,
No,
what
I
happens?
don't.
'Cause 20 million new people and they do nothing to the current game. Is there any possible scenario that New Horizons gets anything?
Then my question is, why haven't they updated it in the last 6 months when it has sold 10 million?
I think in their minds, 2.0 and
It's
Happy
still
Home.
carrying forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as sick as it sounds. I mean, let's look back. Really, I mean, we're all like starving for content, but let's really look back. 2.0, man, added everything. Happy Home added what was supposed to be hundreds and hundreds of hours.
Right.
I think Nintendo is very content with what they put out, and it's just not translating over to us. Because, and I think the big divide is because we used to get monthly things. So we treated 2.0, which was a major update, we treated that as a monthly thing when we shouldn't have. I also think that Happy Home should have came out in the spring this year. I think that having both of those together was a mistake.
Yeah, and I think you do have to look at, I mean, I know we can mince their words and, microscope every letter, but they said it was done. So
Free updates.
Yes, but
Zach is gonna go insane.
there's also like, okay, they used Happy Home as a real big boost for the expansion pass, for the online. Like that's, that helped launch that. What, the next one isn't part of that? You have to completely buy it, and I don't know what the numbers are. I don't know what the Amiibo update. Well, that was free for New Leaf, so.
But it brought a whole new wave, and it also
Right.
sold Amiibos. And
But what is the if they do, okay, let's just take that comment. 2024 a new update. They can bring a new update and sell to a fraction of the audience at $20, or they can try to have their next 40 million seller at 60 or 70 by that point. And I think a lot of it just depends on things we can't foresee. Is the Switch still kicking as hard as it is right now? Are they onto something new?
Yeah. Because momentum could switch really fast if, no pun intended, it can switch really fast if they say, hey guys, check out this brand new shiny console. Like,
Yeah.
our minds, switch up really fast. We don't want the old Switch. We want, the new thing.
And it also depends if you think they're going to bring a spin-off, because to me it would be very strange to be like, oh, here's Amiibo, Festival, and then remember the game before it 2 years, like, I don't know, you're getting very, like they're not releasing Super Mario Party boards after Mario Party Superstars.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, okay, Zach, to end things off,
Yes.
we need our most realistic, educated guess.
Yeah.
The next thing for Animal Crossing, we are saying a spinoff.
Yes.
And you're saying next year. Or no, you said that.
I think we
year.
I think we get a tease for an Animal Crossing spin-off this year.
Wow.
At some point, I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but if we can get 2 or 3 Pokemon games a year, they can. Right?
Interesting.
I mean, it's probably more likely 2023, but I like to be really glass half full and really optimistic. But
if Animal Crossing is in this Nintendo Direct in like a spin-off or a new game, I will get #Trust Switch Force tattooed on me.
Okay. All right. Look, my best guess says that it is not in this Direct, but I really do think that Nintendo will spin this game off sooner rather than later. And I think they are at a point where they have 100 million Switches, and why not? We don't know anything besides Breath of the Wild 2 for next year. Nothing.
Yeah. There is a gap. There's definitely a gap, but there's also big announcements. It all goes back to timing. In the beginning of this episode, like, how do they squeeze that in? They're going super hard on Pokemon and Splatoon. So I feel like announcing Animal Crossing it's just so random. I mean, well, unless it's like a little puzzle game that could release.
Yeah, but that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about
Yeah.
New Horizons 2. We're talking about the cafe remix equivalent of, for AC.
Okay. So we're thinking the next logical thing is an Animal Crossing spin-off game. Zach is saying maybe we see it this year and comes out this year or next year? Next year. I'm saying we maybe hear about something next year and then it comes out in 2024. I just think that the drought is on. I don't know. Like, what was the gap between Amiibo Festival?
Let's see. That's what I was looking up right now. So we're talking about New Leaf to Amiibo Festival. Is that what you want to know?
Well, it would be.
New Leaf.
I guess you would have to look. What's that?
Is that what you're talking about? Or
New Leaf and also the Welcome Amiibo expansion and then Happy Home. There was actually a lot coming at us.
Okay, so New Leaf was November 2012, and then Happy Home Designer. Is that what you're talking about?
Happy Home Designer, yeah.
Happy Home Designer was 2015, and Amiibo Festival was 2015. So 3 years later, they brought out 2 spin-offs.
Oh God. Oh man. I don't know, man.
Less than 3 years, because it was freaking okay. New Leaf released in November of 2012, and then Happy Home Designer was out July of 2015. So that is 2.5 years till the spinoff. And now, obviously, we had 2.0 and Happy Home Paradise, which do create more of a buffer.
And I also think Nintendo was doing everything they could to make Wii U a success. There's a lot of. I mean, listen, I don't know, man. I'm not doubting you. I think that it is possible. But I don't know. I don't want to curse this stream and say
Super Mario Party was 2018 and Mario Party Superstars was 2021. Would you have ever thought that they would have? I mean,
that's a little bit more believable because back in the GameCube days, it was like a yearly franchise.
Yeah.
I would be fine with some sort of multiplayer only. I think the best case scenario, multiplayer only, online only, Animal Crossing something. I think that's best case scenario. Worst case scenario is a freaking Animal Crossing app that does nothing.
You know how they have Pokemon Smile where you brush your teeth with Pokemon? It's
my
Animal
God.
Crossing Sleep. Since Pokemon, did Pokemon Sleep ever come out? I don't even know if that's a thing anymore.
I have no idea.
AC Sleep.
We need that type of energy though from Animal Crossing. It need realistically, do they ramp this up now? This must affect.
It has to.
Yeah, they have to ramp it up.
All right. Speaking of ramping up, things should ramp up soon for Nintendo. Their big June Direct is still waiting in the wings, and I am 1,000% confident it'll be happening in the next couple of weeks, so we will definitely keep you posted. But join us tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern again, Monday afternoon, evening. We're back, and this time we're talking about Nintendo as a whole. We're talking about their other series that you might be interested in, like Mario, Zelda, Kirby, Donkey Kong, Mario Kart, Mario Party, and kind of getting our predictions laid out, our thoughts, our ideas, and yours as well, of what is going to come in Nintendo's big summer festival, which, yes, it has not been officially announced, but I promise you it's coming. I will promise the people.
Do you think Treehouse is there too?
Or I hope so. I think that would be really fun.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun to get a Scarlet deep dive and Animal Crossing spin-off deep dive, stuff like that.
All right, so we'll see you again tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern, for some Nintendo chats. Should be good.
Thank you so much for joining. We appreciate all of you. It is good to be back, and this is a 2-night event. We're like a comedy tour in town for 2 nights only. We're back Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern. See y'all there.